Morning, troops, and thank you very much for joining us. It's the last day of August, 31 days in August, and I'm broadcasting today from the cafe that is about 100 metres down from where I live. Having said that, I did ride the motorbike down because I've got friends arriving today, and every minute is important, so I'll have to just get back to the house quickly after this. So we are starting at a different time today. We're starting at 8. We are starting at 8:30 today, so sorry if this time doesn't suit you, but welcome to the people who are online already. We're talking safety today, and there's quite a few aspects to look into when you're talking about safety. Safety is very much a relative term, and I'll talk about that particular aspect in a moment. But a lot of people are complaining at the moment that, it's not safe to travel in Thailand. I'm thinking, well, it's a strange thing to say because, after living here for over a decade, I consider Thailand a very, very safe place to live. But how you interface with any country, any culture, any society or community is going to change the way that you perceive safety. So let's have a talk about that in the Thai context. I've got a bit of sort of statistical information, but statistics is not what it's all about. It's also a matter of how you feel. Do you feel safe where you are? Now, some people, for example, feel very unsafe in a place like the United States. Other people in the United States, I've got sort of relatives over there, I talk to them quite often, they feel very safe. So, it depends on your approach to safety. If you engage in unsafe practices, if you want to ride around Thailand without a helmet on a motorbike at high speed, then you're more likely to have an accident. If you want to ride in a minivan on a border run, those things travel at about 180 kilometres an hour. I wouldn't be caught dead in one of those. A lot of people are caught dead in those. So, there are things you can do to mitigate your risk wherever you are, and that includes Thailand. Now, one person made a good comment here. John Green said, John Green, is that the John Green? I'm sure not. Remember, you are an alien. Things are done different here from your country. And that's another thing to remember when we think about safety, is we are in a foreign country. We are in a different culture. Things sort of operate a little bit differently. And if we think things are going to happen 1, 2, 3, they're probably not going to happen like that at all. By the way, people are probably wondering what I'm looking at. I'm sitting at a window looking out at the same view that I have pretty much from my house. Let's just show this to you. If I can get all the magic whistles working here. There we are. That's basically the view from where I am, looking out to the road, the Bonneville Beach Road, which runs about 5 kilometres along the road. And then we've got the foreshore reserve. Needs a good cutting at the moment. And then, of course, we've got the Andaman Sea beyond. I can just see there on the left, you might be able to pick it out. There's a fishing rod. So there are a couple of guys fishing this morning. Not sure if they're going to catch anything or it's just an excuse to get out of the home for a few hours, get out of doing the lawn. But yes, they could cut that lawn over the road if they if they wanted to. So that's what I'm seeing. So, it's also very important if you are travelling to a foreign country to just do a cursory search on the internet. You're going to hear things in the news and they're going to spark your interest. But, I went to Kazakhstan recently and I thought, well, I better just, check on Kazakhstan. And it came up as relatively risk-free, about the same as Thailand. So, I did give it a quick check. I also checked the Australian government's travel advisories, and it basically said, it's okay to travel there. So, travel advisories, for example, are a way that you can get the perception of your government if it's safe for you to travel to that country. Now, sometimes I find the travel advisories, overly pessimistic. There were times like during the coup that they're saying, well, don't travel to Thailand. But maybe in the first couple of weeks, because we really didn't know what we were expecting. But after that, I mean, life just got back to normal, and there really was very, very little difference to the way that people live. And because, well, I mean, the army was running the place, in many ways it was more safe because there were probably more government troops out and about. So maybe it was sort of had a heightened safety in the months after the coup. So it's a very relative thing. Another thing I think it's important to say about safety is if you wouldn't do it in your home country, don't do it in Thailand. And so many people come here for experiences. That's fine, of course that's important. But if a lot of people, myself included, I had never ridden on a motorbike before I came to Thailand. That's one of my blue motorbikes out the front. And on the very first day I was here in Thailand, I went and bought that very motor scooter some over 13 years ago. It was pouring with rain. They gave me a helmet along with the scooter. It was second hand at the time. I think the actual model's about 22 years old now. Still runs perfectly well. It gets an oil change every 6 months or so, but that's about it. They're pretty indestructible, the scooters here, all built in Thailand. But I'd never ridden on a scooter, and me and my partner, or my partner and I, we got on the scooter and rode back home in the pouring rain. And I'd never been on a scooter or motorbike in my life. So sometimes we do take risks. Well, did I consider it a risk at the time? Well, I was sort of new in the country, and I just thought I need to get some mobility. I bought a car in the weeks after, and the scooter is something that I used then and now pretty much for just doing the less than 1 kilometre ride down to the 7-Eleven, or just a quick visit down to one of the cafes. Andrew Rogers says, always felt safe in Thailand, if talking about personal safety, as I found out I can't account for fate. All I will say, you could use a few full stops, Andrew, is Beach Road Patong overhead street lighting crashing to the ground. Oh, okay. That's not good. Philip says, bring Steve back. Well, it's not up to me. Steve was never here on Saturday mornings, so I'm not sure what you're talking about, Philip. Steve, I think in the next couple of weeks we'll probably see him back online, but he was never on the Saturday morning programs. By the way, thank you very much to those people that joined in our rather spontaneous Saturday afternoon program last week. Sean Stenning from 5 Star Marine and Living Waters Phuket gave me a call and said, let's do something to raise some money for those people that have lost everything following the landslide in Phuket. Again, all those headlines, landslide in Phuket, you would have thought that the entire mountain structure in the island caused a landslide over the entire island. Well, I mean, it was a very selected area from the mountain where Big Buddha is on the top, just a swathe of that mountain about, 20, 30, 40 metres wide, came barrelling down the mountain. And there were 13 people died, and there were around about, 200 properties affected. But, I mean, a very selected area, and you, of course, don't want to be one of those 13 people. But it's the news. The news does make it look like this happens everywhere in the world. You know, there's somebody run over in a riot in France. You think, all of France is unsafe, or there's another gun shooting in America. Well, there was in one particular home. So, I think the news doesn't necessarily exaggerate the point, but I think we exaggerate the news itself by not sort of looking at the wider context of how that news has been reported. So let's have a look at Thailand as a country. And it would be silly to say that Thailand is safe or safer everywhere around the country. I mean, it's a very big country, and there are parts that are safe and there are parts that are, or maybe less safe. For example, I mean, if you're going to spend a lot of time down in the southern three provinces, where there's been an ongoing civil war for some 20 plus years, it's less safe down there. But again, if you stick to the main roads, it's probably as safe as anywhere else in Thailand, given that there's quite an army presence to try and make sure that residents and tourists and expats are safe down there. But yeah, you don't sort of want to get off the beaten track in southern Thailand. Now, let's have a talk about the tourist areas. Well, I mean, the tourist areas, because of the number of people and the number of police that are in, say, the Sukhumvit area of Bangkok, or around Pattaya, or around the tourist areas of Phuket or Chiang Mai. I mean, you're going to be very safe there. But it's those places where people are more inclined perhaps to engage, that's the coffee machine, coffee grinder. They're going to be more inclined sometimes after a couple of drinks to engage in unsafe behaviour and perhaps do some of those things that they wouldn't be doing in their home country. So, yes, let's consider Thailand as one country, but a lot of different regions and areas. If you're just going about your daily life in the northeast of Thailand, it's probably as safe as just about anywhere in the world. Very quiet country life. A comment from Globebug, travel advisory warnings and more to cover the government. Told not to go to Paris, Bangkok and Taiwan because of citywide riots. Never saw any trouble staying in the centre of both cities. When the coup happened back in 2014, there was a concentration of some violence in two particular parts of the city, basically two different intersections. Beyond those two intersections in Bangkok, a city of some 12 million people, you wouldn't have any idea there was anything going on in the way of violence or an army coup. So you're right. And when there's riots in Bangkok or Taiwan, oh my God, the whole country's unsafe. Well, just put it in context and look at the video and think, well, that is just a snapshot of a tiny little camera view of that area. And the cameraman's job and the journalist's job is to focus in on the activities happening right there. And when they say there were 3 people killed, well, they didn't actually say there's a population in that country of 100 million. So, you've always got to put things in context. So, let's just go to some of these maps. I think these are sort of instructive and perhaps give us more to talk about. I just should acknowledge, sorry, just scrolling back here, Mick Fitz. Hello, Mick. Got a lot to say usually. Buy a coffee. Thank you very, very much for your contribution this morning, Mick. Travel advisories. Nong Wua So says, no brain, no pain. No brain, no pain. I've got to have a think about that. By the way, this table's very wobbly. Okay, Paddy Power. Morning, Tim from Sydney. It's been a while since you did a show from that cafe. Yes, it is a while since I've done a show from this cafe, and we will get the biker brigade dropping in. We've had a few bikers here already this morning, and it's good to see the cafe busy, even in the middle of the wet season. People still popping up to Thailand. The reason I'm doing the show early today is because I do have some friends I haven't seen for about 20 years coming. They've travelled from Australia and they've hired a car and they're driving up to the beach. Very excited to see them. Last time I saw the main person, he just got married. Now he's coming up with his 3 children. A couple of them are sort of almost in their teenage years. So time flies. 20 years since I've seen them. So very excited. That's why I'm just on a bit earlier today. Hello from the Windy City, says Gail Foz. Not sure how to pronounce that. Hello from Vancouver Island, says Brett Border. Bring Captain back, says Alpha Bravo. you never know. Captain might make an appearance. It's a non-school day, but I think he was sleeping. Okay, I miss Steve too, says Alex Taylor. We all miss Steve. I saw him yesterday. He's fit and well. And no, actually, he wasn't. He had a he had a hacking cough. There's been a bit of a cough going around here. I had it about 2 weeks ago. I didn't feel sick. I didn't have any chest pain. I wasn't dribbling from the nose. Didn't have a sore throat, but had this cough, just a hacking cough that I couldn't get rid of. Aren't the real danger the roads and the air pollution, says Alpha Bravo. I'll get to having a talk about that in a moment. Again, both aspects are avoidable, you could say. So I was going to go to some of these maps, so I've got to press that button there. There we go. This is from SPS Global. There's a few companies that do this sort of travel advisory type information. This is an SPS 2024 risk map. Down the bottom there, you've got the codes from green, which is very safe, down to red, don't go there. And we can see that Thailand is, well, somewhere in the middle. The yellow is regarded as medium risk. And Myanmar to the west there, yeah, don't go there at the moment. If there was a dark red, I'd probably paint Myanmar as dark red at the moment. Mind you, this is 2024. Oh, there you go. A couple of Saharan countries there in Africa, places they say don't go to Afghanistan. Kazakhstan, where I was 2 months ago now, regarded about the same as Thailand, which also gets rated with Cambodia, Laos and Malaysia as reasonably safe. Russia, don't go to Russia, it seems to suggest. Russia in orange there. Let's go to another one of these maps. This is a travelrisk.com map, a travelriskmap.com. And it's regarding Thailand, once again in the middle. It's calling variable risk. The orange countries around, Cambodia, Vietnam, Laos and Myanmar, they're saying, well, it's high medical risk. Sri Lanka is saying it's only medium risk. And India is also, along with Malaysia, is considered variable risk, which is right in the middle of the graph down there. So that's just another map. We go to this one. It's much more comprehensive, and it's published by the swiftest.com, and it's the deadliest and safest travel destinations. This is from 2022, and importantly, it's based on the 50 most visited countries. So this is not every country, this is just the 50 most visited countries. So of course there's a lot of countries that will miss out here. And it rates it in terms of homicide deaths, road deaths, poisoning, death from poor hygiene conditions, nice picture of a bug, communicable diseases, and life years lost, injury, life years lost, and natural disasters. Not sure how Thailand would do in the natural disasters, given that we had the tsunami here that killed so many people back in 2004 from a natural disaster. But you've got the top 12 countries. Thailand comes in at number 12 on this map. South Africa, out of the 50 countries, considered the least safe, followed by India, Dominican Republic, Mexico, Brazil, Cambodia, Philippines, Saudi Arabia, Vietnam, Indonesia, China, then Thailand at number 12. And it goes all the way down. These are the 50 most travelled to countries. And it's got, say, Australia. Obviously, I'm interested in that one. 22. Canada, just a bit further up. And it goes all the way down to Singapore, which out of the list of the 50 most visited countries is considered the safest. And it's got, in all those different categories, Singapore, A+, A+, A+. So it does very, very well. If you go back, and we find Thailand, whereas at number 12, it gets a C for homicide deaths, but it gets an F when it comes to road traffic deaths. I think Thailand is known to have fairly bad road toll, but it figures well in other areas. So, yeah, that's quite a comprehensive map listing Thailand at number 12 in the 50 most visited countries in the world. So it's sort of up there. It's in the, the top, between 20 and 40%. I don't know, several ways you can relate it. But number 12 out of 50 most visited countries considered to be, that's the safety level. Australia, number 22. Okay. So below are the 20 deadliest travel destinations. And again, this is out of the top 50 most travelled countries. South Africa at the top, India, Dominican Republic, Thailand number 12, and even the United States is at number 20 in this list of the 50 most visited countries. So the United States, I think gun violence would be figuring quite high there and bringing its average down. Again, the 50 most deadly travel destinations rated here from yellow, which means it's very safe, most safe, down to dark red, which is considered least safe. And if we just zoom in there, Thailand once again sort of in the middle. And, Thailand is considered, it's in the dark red. So I think because of that number 12 rating, road deaths figuring highly and bringing its average down is in that area of not very safe. And the way they rate this is the homicide rate, road traffic death rate. Yeah, Thailand not doing well there. Poisoning death rate, unsanitary conditions mortality rate, and life years lost due to communicable diseases. And that, of course, is the picture at the front. So sorry, meandering through that. Hopefully that just gave you a bit of sort of statistical information about the way people rate Thailand. Let's have a talk about stream quality updated. I'm sorry if my stream quality is a bit up and down today. I'm using my phone for the stream quality. Chinese gangs in Cambodia. I think, again, the news would paint it such that you'd think if you go to Cambodia, you're going to be kidnapped and held in one of these online gambling gang areas. But most people that go to Cambodia, 99.9%, go in and they see Angkor Wat at sunrise and they have a few drinks in Siem Reap, walk around Phnom Penh, have some great food and go home. But again, it's sort of the headlines that make it sound unsafe. Too bald to take seriously, says Elon von Braun. Oh, I'm sorry about that. I can't do much about it. CJ notes, Thai roads are statistically the worst in Southeast Asia, according to World Life Expectancy website. Let's have a talk about that. Scott D, thank you very much, Scott, for your contribution. And Scott is saying, always wanted to see a collaboration between Tim and Tommy D of Fabulous 103 FM. Yesterday was Tommy's last broadcast. Hello from Chicago. Yeah, hi, Tommy. Tommy's been doing broadcasting in Thailand for about 700 years. His last day on air. I'm not sure if he's going to continue doing his daily podcast of news, but I'll see if I can finagle Tommy to come down. I've tried to contact him a few times recently, but he hasn't got back to me. So plenty happening in Tommy's life. At the end of the day, hope he's healthy. That's the main thing. So he is retiring. Okay, wow, been a while since you've been at the cafe. Yes, you started 20 minutes ago. Sheesh. Greetings, everyone. Yes, Thug Life. I told everybody yesterday that I'm starting at 8:30 today. Most accidents happen at home. That's very, very true. Of course, we spend most of our time at home, so statistically, we are probably more likely to have an accident at home, falling over in the shower, eating my partner's food. Okay, just have a talk about the road situation in Thailand. Statistically, if you are between 18 and 24 years old, male, and have been using drugs in the last 24 hours, including alcohol, cannabis, any drugs, you are more likely to have an accident. However, if you're over 50 you're driving a car and you drive relatively safely, you're pretty much as safe as anybody else anywhere in the world on a road. The number of young male stupid people in Thailand that have accidents, and you see them on their motorbikes every day, no helmet on drugs or alcohol, and they have accidents. I've seen an accident right out of the front of my house. And that these push the statistics up very, very high in Thailand and make it look like it is much more unsafe to drive here than it actually is. Again, if you are on one of the main roads, and the roads here are very good once you, in sort of the main areas, from Phuket to here, it's 2 lanes of excellent road in both directions. The cyclists, as they arrive, they use that road every day, along with it's got a bike lane as well, and a motorbike lane. So, it depends where you are, how you drive, but if you're over 50, if you are especially a female, and you drive in a car, you are statistically very unlikely to have an accident in Thailand. But it's the young males who push the statistics up, and speeding is also, it's speeding and drunk driving that are the main 2 contributors to deaths here in Thailand, young males. So they really push the numbers up. So that's what I can say about driving safety. It's also a matter of, if you are going to be driving here, getting used to the rhythm of the traffic. I mean, the traffic rhythm is different here than it is in, say, my country. Now, when I was taught to drive, I was taught to drive defensively. Well, that's a mistake here in Thailand. And I had in my first year 3 minor incidents, all involved getting dints in my car. But after that first year, I've never had another accident, touch wood, here in Thailand. Because you get used to the rhythm of the traffic. You get used to the fact that there's just thousands of motorbikes on the roads, which I never had to encounter before. So you're using your rear view mirror, your side mirrors, just keeping an eye out on the road much more than I used to. So I had to get used to that. And it took a little bit of a while. There are speed signs in Thailand, but they're largely disregarded because currently they're not really enforced properly. So Thais will generally just drive as fast as they can in any particular given area. And I suppose the other thing to say about Thai traffic is my attitude is sort of swim with the school of fish. Just go with the flow. If the people around you are sort of going faster, go faster with them. Don't try and drive defensively. If they're driving slowly, drive slowly. Just keep to the same rhythm of the traffic that is around you. It's just a slightly different way of looking at it. Okay, let's go to some of your comments. So we are talking about safety in Thailand. Is Thailand a safe place to travel? And I'm saying, generally, I think it is, as long as you just keep your brain turned on, avoid some sort of things that might be considered unsafe in your own country, that you wouldn't do in your own country, but you do here. You're going to go on a parasail? Would you do that in your home country? Maybe if you are going to do something like parasailing at a beach, at Pattaya, Phuket, just stop and watch them doing the rides. Look at the way they launch the people and land the people. Look at the way it happens. Look at the value for money, for heaven's sake. So 2 minutes up in the air for, 2,000 baht? And make an intelligent decision. Would you do it in your home country? Maybe you wouldn't. Maybe you would. Or if you would have, you probably would have done it already. So getting in a plane. I mean, there are some airlines that are safer than others, depending on the plane that you're travelling in. I mean, if the plane is from the 1970s, I'd be less inclined to get on board than if the plane was built in the last 10 years. I mean, there's one particular aircraft I avoid at all costs, and I've studiously kept to that and will do so in the future. But everybody's got to make their own decisions, intelligent decisions about decisions that involve their own safety, the safety of their friends and their family as well. Food in Thailand I would regard as very safe. Rarely hear about people getting food poisoning. Well, it does happen. Happens everywhere in the world. I had, strangely in Australia, I had food poisoning about 3 times in my life. Each time it was a pizza of all things. So the pizzas in Australia, they're all bad. No, it was just those 3 pizzas that I happened to have. But here in Thailand, I've had pizzas in Thailand. I haven't been sick. But I would say that the food is very safe. Now, if you're driving from Phuket to Udon Thani, you stop on the side of the road and it just looks like that food's been sitting out in the sun for 3 or 4 hours, I'd probably keep on driving. But just have a good look and make a good decision. Just have a bit of a smell of the food before you pop it in your mouth. That's another good way to check. But generally, I've found the food here in Thailand very safe. Now, the food sanitation standards in some areas don't appear to be as high as in some other countries. But I've sort of decided that's more an appearance thing, that usually they do wash everything and everything is kept quite clean. But if you do see a kitchen that looks a bit ratty, or you see a few rats, then we'll make a good decision and perhaps decide to eat elsewhere. But generally, when it comes to food, I find the food safety here in Thailand very high. Out at night, there are places in Melbourne, I've said this many times, I'm sorry to bore you if you've heard it before, that I would avoid at night. There were places in the 90s and the early 2000s in places like King Street in Melbourne. I'd never go there at night time. It was famous for its brawls and its people throwing punches, and there were a lot of nightclubs and people out of control. So I'd avoid that. Then there were other sort of, less well-known areas in the city I'd probably avoid at night. I'd just make a good decision. Here in Thailand, generally at night time, there's nowhere I wouldn't go. I've never felt unsafe walking around here at night time in Thailand. Again, if you are a young female or a group of young females and you're in a tourist area, or maybe it's probably a good idea just to be aware of your safety, more so than if you're walking around at daytime. Stick to areas where there's a lot of people. Don't go to some of the quieter areas and the quieter streets. Now, there is one particular well-reported aspect of people dying in Thailand. It gets more publicity than it gets actual statistics. And it's regarding I'm trying to find a tasteful way of saying this. Basically, people falling out of condos and falling off balconies, particularly for whatever reason in Pattaya. Now, some of these are genuine incidents and accidents. Others relate to some sort of domestic violence. Sadly, some others are people who take their own life by jumping out of a condo for whatever reason. Now, I know there's a lot of people that sort of have jokes about these people and sort of have a laugh, and there's always talk about the Pattaya Flying Club or something like that. Pretty distasteful at the end of the day, because these people who are, I don't know why it tends to be a focus on that particular town and why people decide to take their life by jumping out of a condo, but usually a lot of stress and a lot of depression has brought them to that point. So these people deserve our compassion. I've spoken about this in the past. There is an element of expats here that fall between the cracks. There's very little welfare to help protect these people, and they tend to fall between the cracks and fall into bad behaviours which may lead to poor decisions, to perhaps end their life. So that is one aspect, and I know it's a very, very small group of people, But it is an area that gets a lot of coverage in media. I don't tend to report suicides. Back in Australia, it was something that's just an understanding between the police and the media. You don't report suicides. There was a well-known bridge in my hometown of Melbourne where pretty much every night there would be somebody jumping off the bridge. But we didn't report them. It was just one of those no-go areas. So very sensitive. And there are plenty of places you can contact. I'll put those numbers later in the description of this video if you need to talk to somebody about the problems you may be having here in Thailand. Okay, let's get to some of these questions and comments. And we'll just scroll back. And thank you very much, Scott D, for your suggestion. I'll try and get hold of Tommy. Let's see if we've got people. If you want to write a comment or have a question, put it in caps, not the whole question or comment, just the word comment or the word question. It makes it a lot easier for me to see in amongst the hundreds. Andreas Gaming in Thailand, comment, happy, I always wear a helmet in Thailand. Had a chunk taken out from an awning that was too low and close to a curb. Yes, there are some aspects of the way they build things in Thailand, the way they go about doing things that may appear to be less safe than other countries. Again, a certain amount of common sense needs to be put in place. But if you're treating Thailand and assuming that it's as safe as where you come from in exactly the same way, you might be heading for some sort of incident. Smoke from Seven Orifices says, comment, in every country news reporters rarely give statistics when there are tragedies. Yeah, and look, it's not really up to the journalist to do that. It's up to you to try and put it in your own context. I mean, their job is to get headlines. It is to try and sell advertisements somewhere in the text of that story. And they're not going to try and drag you away from the horror of the headlines. That's just what the media has done, not just now, but over the hundreds of years. Mick Fitz, road debris took someone's eye out just last week. You can be injured at any time just going about your business. Look, I get that. And yeah, it is very sad when somebody's just going about, as Mick Fitz says, their business, and something untoward happens, something comes flying off the road or somebody drives into you, and that's always extremely sad when it happens. So, yeah, again, just keep your eyes out and watch for anything that's heading your way. Another thing I suppose you could talk about in Thailand is risks from creepy crawlies and risks from sort of things that you may not be used to in your countries. Now, I come from Australia, which is famous for its, snakes and spiders and crawlies that can kill you. Seen plenty of spiders in my life. I mean, spiders don't bother me. I'd pick up a spider and put it outside. Redbacks, I've picked up a redback. Funnel webs I wouldn't go near. I remember sitting on the balcony in Sydney one day. I had a flat in North Sydney, and I was up on the 3rd or 4th floor, and a funnel web spider, furry, big fangs, wandering up the wall, thinking, oh, I'm safe up here. No, that gave me a bit of a shock. So out with the Mortine. So, yeah, coming from Australia, I'd never seen a shark. Seen plenty of dolphins because I did a lot of sailing. But never would think twice about jumping into the water and having a swim. So, but again, when you get the shark attacks, and they happen maybe once or twice a year, they make headlines and they're scary. Of course they're scary because you're swimming in the shark's lunchroom. If the shark decides to have a bit of a nibble, it can do a lot of damage, and it's very, very scary when it's reported. Okay, what else we got? Tim, where's Captain? I don't know. We'll see if Captain turns up. The violence in Bangkok was in 2012, not 2014. Well, yeah, I mean, there was violence in Bangkok in 2014 as well, which led to the coup. And it's all been sort of red shirt, yellow shirt. There's been worse violence, and there was violence in 2012. There's been violence at different times in Thailand, but always in quite selected areas. So yeah, there was violence both in 2012 and 2014. Vietnam, something green, Alpha Bravo. Sorry, didn't quite understand that. Brett Border, cut myself off, but Thailand is one of the few countries I've been to where I'd send my 18-year-old daughter. No place to be worried about at any time of the day, at least in Bangkok or Phuket. Yeah, look, I have to agree. Thailand is generally, the way I see it, a safe country as long as you just have done a little bit of reading and you know the things to avoid. I mean, if you're going to start chatting to a bar girl at 3 a.m. in the morning, having had 16 drinks, you've got the potential of something bad happening one way or the other. Now, we do see headlines from the bar scene at different places around the country where there is violence and people getting into a bit of a dust-up. We don't want to see that. And it doesn't usually lead to death, but it does just make those areas look perhaps less safe than they are. I mean, the Soi 6, there's probably been 3 or 4 incidents over the past couple of months, which have made not just headlines in Thailand, but headlines around the world. But I'd have no hesitation to go to those areas, not that I'd want to, but I'd have no hesitation going to them from a safety aspect, because there's plenty of people around and most people do sort of keep to themselves. Retiring. We're talking about Tommy there, but yes, back to the... okay, what else we got here? Chinese gangs, too bald to take seriously. Yeah, I got that one, thank you. Stream quality is great, says Thomas Tyler. Yeah, it's all coming from the 5G on my phone today. So I've turned the internet off in the cafe. Scott D, if my memory is correct, only South Africa is more dangerous regarding road casualties in Thailand. I think at the moment, statistically, in 2024, we're number 9 in the world for road deaths per capita. But again, statistically, it's heavily weighted, like more than 70%, on young males between 18 and 24 that have had a skinful before getting on their bike or drugs. Come on, if you don't like Cambodia, then you're hard to please, says Thug Life. Hello from Argentina, says American Aviator. Now, there's an interesting place. I spent quite a lot of time in Argentina, probably about a month. This would have been 10 years ago or so. Buenos Aires was considered a very unsafe place to visit. I have to say, it's one of my favourite cities in the world. I loved wandering around Buenos Aires and never thought twice about my safety. I always felt very, very safe wandering around that particular city, well, back then anyway. Hello from Australia, says Comicus Civicus. Okay, comment. Enforcement of traffic laws is the big issue, says FJ. Yeah, look, unfortunately, most of the time you see police out on the roads in Thailand, it's not to check on traffic speeds or stop people for drink driving. It's to try and skim 200 or 500 baht from somebody for not wearing a helmet, usually in a tourist area, usually around about 11 o'clock in the morning, just before lunch. In Phuket, I see a lot of foreign guys zooming around on big bikes, says D. Sandy. And there was, of course, the stories up in Pattaya of, I think, a lot of Kuwaitis who are sort of on their holidays or something, going up there, and they regularly rent big bikes and sort of hoon around late at night. And yeah, I've seen plenty of people on fancy bikes like Ducatis. Again, they've probably never been on a motorbike, and they come here and they hire a Ducati, and they've got a singlet on and a pair of shorts and their thongs, sandals, whatever you want to call them. They're not wearing no. And yeah, sunburnt, and they have a crash and they end up in a ditch, and then they end up in hospital. The travel insurance doesn't cover them, and they end up with a page begging for money. because the hospital bill runs up and the travel insurance isn't going to cover you if you weren't wearing a helmet or you didn't have the proper license, let alone be driving around on a thing like a Ducati. Glenn Shermer, in my province, Nan, people show respect driving slowly through villages. Well, that's great, isn't it? I think you will find that even without, speed signs saying 40k, without speed humps all over the place, it's great when a community has the respect to just slow down and drive at a decent speed. Certainly when I arrive in Thailand, after I've been driving at 80, 100 kilometres an hour on the highway, I slow down to 30, 40 kilometres an hour as I come through the town, because there will be people crossing the roads, there'll be motorbikes, there's the village and community life that I don't want the noise of my car to disrupt. I certainly don't want to run into anybody. Daryl McGee, traffic, ha ha ha, go with the flow is the best way. That's swim with the fishes. If they're driving faster, drive faster. If they're driving slower, drive slower. Another aspect of safety in Thailand is marine safety. And this particularly applies to people who go on a tour boat. Now, if you want to go on a tour, say out on the islands of Phang, which I know well, there are cheap tours and there's more expensive tours. And you might be surprised that the tour companies running with the cheaper tours are on boats that get less maintenance, boats that are perhaps older, and crews that are less experienced than if you go with a tour company that's charging more, but you can look at their boats and they look new and clean, and the crew are responsive and obviously well qualified and happy to show you their qualifications sort of out of the shot. So again, you just need to make a good decision. But if you're always shopping for the cheapest everything, you're going to be more open or susceptible to the possibility of having an unsafe experience. Now, 5-Star Marine, their tours are, I'm sure Sean will acknowledge, more expensive than some of the other tour boats, but you'll get a bespoke, you'll get a private tour, you'll have the boat pretty much to yourself as they take you out onto the islands. Now, if you jump on a boat with 50 other people and the boat looks like it was used on D-Day to land the troops in 1942, then, yeah, I mean, you're going to have more of a chance of an incident. And when we report about marine safety incidents, inevitably they're always on these cheap tour companies or on boat tours where there were some shortcuts taken. Gun violence is another one in Thailand. Thailand is sort of in the middle when it comes to deaths from gun violence. It has a gun culture amongst a lot of Thai males, and there is a subset of Thai males that are probably would be owners of a gun. I have to say, as a foreigner here in Thailand, foreigners are not allowed to own guns. I have not seen any Thais with guns in the areas I've been. But if you're sort of, hanging around a whole lot of young Thai men who have been drinking all night and starting to get out and brandish their guns, I think that's a good time for you to head somewhere else. And statistically, the people that die in Thailand are again young males, also people involved in domestic violence, where the gun seems to be a solution to an issue. So as a foreigner, as far as gun violence is concerned in Thailand, statistically, you're very, very safe. And just the final thing to say before we get to your comments and start to sort of wrap things up today, if you are travelling in Thailand, remember it's a different culture. There is a higher possibility of misunderstandings. It's a country where things just work differently. Not better, not worse, they're just different. And sometimes, as I said, the restaurants don't quite look as clean, but they are. Sometimes you sort of go to a work site and you think, it doesn't quite look as safe. But the workmen have probably got helmets on and got the high visibility jackets, and there is probably a culture there. But if there's not, then okay, well, there's going to be a higher possibility of an accident. We've just lost 3 people in a tunnel collapse in the high-speed train. High-speed train which will go through Nakhon Ratchasima. They were building one of the tunnels for the high-speed trains, and there was a collapse last Sunday, and the 3 people that were caught there, they may have initially been alive, but they died before the rescuers can get to them. So workplace safety is one of those areas where people can point to Thailand and say they're probably not as careful as in other countries. Part of that, sadly, is that they get a lot of migrant workers, and the Thais are not doing the hard work. They're getting migrant workers to do that work for them. And here in Thailand, that's going to be mostly Cambodians and Burmese, and Thais, for whatever reason, culturally, don't have as much respect for people from those countries. There is a rhythm. It's a no rhythm. That's the rhythm, says Brett Border. Wilco, you're safer if you don't ride a motorised suitcase across Thailand. Wilco, I got a copyright strike for that video the other day. I shouldn't have shown it. But yes, if you got a motorised suitcase, don't drive it from Bangkok out to either of the airports. That's a very good piece of advice. Tony Fossey's got a comment. Is it safe on the roads if you follow... It is safe on the roads if you follow the rules. Unfortunately, in Thailand, no one follows the rules. The Thai government needs to re-educate its drivers, and they should change some of the road rules. Again, if you come from a country and you've learnt a set of road rules and you bring those road rules to Thailand, then you've got a possibility of having some sort of incident. The road rules here, how would you describe it? It's sort of just keeping out of the way of everybody else. There's an intersection here in Thai Muang, intersection of, it's the main road that comes through town, then turns right towards Khao Lak. Then another road goes off to the the southern beaches in Phang, and the other road comes down here to Thai Muang Beach. And it's a crossroad, and there's no signage there, and people come to that intersection and nobody's really sure what to do, because the main road comes down and then turns right. So those people automatically assume they have right of way, even though they're doing a turn when they get to the intersection. I usually find it's best just to be confident, just poke your nose into the intersection, just have a good look and proceed. Everybody sort of slows down. It's a funny intersection. I have to say I've never heard of an incident there. Sure, there probably has been one or two, but it's one of those crazy intersections where any give way to the left or give way to the right wouldn't quite work, but yeah, it sort of works. I only hire drivers, says the Snives. Well, that's another way. I mean, the Thais know how to drive in Thailand. I'm pretty confident these days of driving in Thailand, but if you're just visiting here for a couple of weeks, then yeah, you just need to be a bit extra careful. My friends today, it's the first time they've been, I think it's the first time they've been to Thailand, and they're hiring a car to drive up. I mean, I think you're pretty safe going through Phuket, where you're not going to be going too fast anyway, and you've got very, very good roads once you get over the bridge heading into Phang. Just take public transport, says Thug Life. Thomas Tyler, part of the issue in Phuket is that you have global travellers who bring their driving style, so it's a mixing pot, people bringing the best and more often the worst of their techniques. Very good point, and you could apply that to any tourist location. Brett Border, I've driven in Caracas, Venezuela, and it's like Mad Max. Those first 2 Mad Max films were fantastic. The others not so much. Tim, what aircraft would you avoid, says M. Maranta. You know perfectly well. And I've said, and given my reasons, I'd never fly on a Boeing 737 MAX series. Awesome shirt, says Ted. Thank you very much. Bit like my mother's drapes. M. Maranta, I ate an oyster. Oh, okay. Say no more. In Chiang Mai, the day I was leaving, and I was not popular with the janitors at Chiang Mai airport who had to clean the bathroom. Yeah, bad oyster, that can ruin your day. That's about as bad as you can feel. Thug life. In Thailand, you're more likely to catch food poisoning in Western food chains like McDonald's or Subway. Not so sure about that, but take it as it's said. Gunnar Horpstead, hate those ads popping up. I'm sorry about that. We do have ads on YouTube, which pays for these ridiculous shirts and these cute little mics. Hey Tim, different subject, says Uncle Bob L. I heard a whisper that bids are out to build the new airport near you shortly. That will affect the area near you. Well, yes, the Andaman Airport, they're hoping to get it open 2027-28, and they've already set aside the land. They've already built a road to it. I'm not sure if it's going to directly affect this particular beach area because it's got paperwork that makes it impossible to build shopping centres, bars, shops, commercial enterprises, etc. But generally, I'm sure it will bring more people to Phang, there's no doubt. American Aviator, Tim, is traffic in Bangkok as bad as in Buenos Aires? I didn't drive in Buenos Aires. I was a tourist there just walking around, taking the subway. So I can't really... I think there was less traffic in Buenos Aires. Traffic in Bangkok is heavy in places. I don't think it's particularly unsafe. It's just heavy and slow, the way I see it. Travelled on the back of a motorbike hundreds and hundreds of times in Bangkok without an incident, and I'd have no qualms about doing it again. Always put a helmet on. But those guys driving those motorbikes, they do it all day, every day. I mean, they got skills. Comment from Paul Sumner. Amazing how we now take technology for granted. It wasn't too long ago that transmitting live around the world at this quality from a phone would have felt like a pipe dream. Actually using the camera on my MacBook Pro, that's this camera there, it's the webcam. This is a 700 baht microphone I bought on Lazada. The phone is just sitting on the window there getting the 5G, and I've got my, what do you call this, an iPad. So, yeah, bit of technology, it is amazing. Thank you very much for that, Paul. Yeah, you're right, I get amazed sometimes and I sort of think, this is crazy, I'm talking to people around the world. I thought, Daryl McGee, thank you, Daryl, very much for your ongoing and generous contributions. Through all the frustrations mentioned in the chat, we're all here because we love Thailand and would not wish to stop visiting or residing. Agreed. Thank you very much for that, Daryl. I appreciate your good wishes. I found driving in Bangkok much safer than the outer provinces, says Philip. I think that's partly because there's so much traffic in Bangkok that it's hard to drive fast. Traffic in Manila is worse than Bangkok, says Shano Traveller. Have to agree with you there. Oh my God. I got shocked when I arrived in the Philippines driving, I can't remember the name of the area. Yeah, just horrible. Wilco had an earthquake here centred on Newcastle last week, made the plates rattle at my home on the northern beaches in Sydney. Never experienced an earthquake in Thailand in nearly 40 years of visits. We do get the odd shake. The ring of fire runs off the coast here on the Andaman Sea, which is, there's my builder heading off to the beach houses. By the way, we've got a fourth beach house. There's a link in the description below if you'd like to make a booking. Sleep 7 people. So yeah, we're sort of, that's the ring of fire that caused the earthquake, that caused the tsunami back in 2004. So we're sort of near earthquake zones, but Thailand itself is fairly earthquake free, generally. I felt an earthquake at 4 a.m. in Chiang Mai in 2022. Yeah, I sort of remember reporting that was quite a big earthquake too. Makati, that's it, Shono Traveller. Makati or Makati. I was driving from the airport to Makati. I have never seen crazier traffic just all over the place. I mean, I don't know why there were lines on the roads. It was just completely chaotic. How is traffic in Vietnam, says M. Maranta. Well, I've driven in Vietnam, and now this is a good case in point. Like Thailand has its own rhythm of traffic, it's much the same in Vietnam. They love using their horn in Vietnam, and you get to an intersection, and sometimes the traffic from all four roads is coming through the intersection at the same time, and everybody dodges everybody else. And people walk across the road and the traffic will just stop. As long as you just keep on walking straight, you're usually relatively safe. It appears chaotic from the outside, but for the Vietnamese it works fairly well. I actually got a video showing one of these intersections. We're sort of in Ho Chi Minh City, in a sort of an outdoor suburb. Come and say hello. Come and say hello. Captain's going to come and say hello. But yeah, it was chaotic in Vietnam. As we wrap up here, I think I've got to most of the questions and comments. Do my best. Had an earthquake here. I've done that one. Are you going to say hello? Say hello. Why do Thais spend money installing new tall lights that light up the road like a football field? Hello, Captain.
Hello.
How are you?
I'm fine.
Oh, tilt that down a bit. There you go. You're in the frame. You having a day off school?
No, but tomorrow I need to go a test.
You got a test tomorrow?
Yes.
What is the test for?
It's like a special course.
For what?
It's like a special course of tomorrow. I need to go to test.
Okay, but what are they going to be testing? Is it mathematics? Is it maths, or is it, what subject are they testing?
I'm not sure because in my class it has some.
Come closer.
In my class it has some special course, and the special course is called star and all of the star. Tomorrow it need to go test.
Okay. On a Sunday? You have to go to school on a Sunday?
Yes.
Oh, you get another day off instead? No. Not sure what that means. Come here. What did you have for breakfast this morning?
I have a little like a rice. Little rice.
Had some rice. Oh, he's going to go and get his lunch. Did Mum cook lunch for you? Mum cook breakfast?
7-Eleven.
7-Eleven. He's going to get his breakfast. I think the program's sort of unravelling. I think we've spoken about safety enough today. We'll just say goodbye to Captain when he gets back. But he's gone to get his... Oh, here we go. This is...
A little origami like this.
Okay, so that's rice wrapped up in sort of like seaweed.
I already eat one.
Is it tasty?
Yes, so yummy.
Very yummy. Okay, do you have that hot or cold?
Cold.
Okay, all right. Is Mum sent you to 7-Eleven for breakfast?
No, my mom order in 7-Eleven F.
And they brought it she's got a whole kitchen, she's got an entire cafe, and she sends somebody to 7-Eleven. I think your mother is very irresponsible. Do you love your mum?
Yes.
Yeah, of course. Thank you, Captain. Say goodbye.
Goodbye, everyone.
Thank you very much. Oh dear, here we go. Thanks everybody. Hope you've enjoyed the program today, talking about safety in Thailand. It's been a privilege to be in your, inside your phone, on your laptop, wherever you've been watching. But hopefully we've had a good talk about safety in Thailand. The impression I want to give is that it is a very safe place to come to. Just do a bit of reading. Don't do things in Thailand that you wouldn't do in your home country. Keep your eyes open and your brain turned on. And if you're going to be heading out and having a good time, don't drink and drive, because you probably wouldn't do it in your own country. Okay, funny stuff. Thanks again, Tim. Comment. If you don't like the ads, then you should need to upgrade. Okay, Paul Somner says you need to upgrade to premium and stop whinging. There you go. And there is one earthquake fault going there. Thanks, everybody. Have a great Saturday, and we will see you tomorrow. I'm going to go and see my friends now, and have a good day with them. Haven't seen them for 20 years. Bye-bye.